Hello, welcome to the Spiritual Medicine Digest. My name is Dr. Karen Kan, and every week I give you spiritual tips and news on what's happening. Right now it's the second week of January 2020, and the internet and news is all in an uproar about a potential war between the US and Iran. And here's the thing. You can either get wrapped up into the drama of Twitter and Facebook or whatever, or maybe wrapped up in the drama of the fires in Australia. There's a lot of things to potentially be fearful of. Now, sometimes we think, wow, what can one little person do? What can I do? Aside from reporting the news to my friends and, commiserating or maybe bashing, a president or, something like that. What can we really do to make a real impact? Well, the answer is actually really simple. So simple that nobody does it. Or, well, I'm exaggerating. Not a lot of people do it. So how the world works in the quantum physics way, so to speak, is that it's all about resonance. It's all about frequency, okay? So if you do not want war, like most of us do not desire war, what do? You want peace, right? So ask yourself, how much energy am I spending in peace? How much time am I personally spending in peace? Because that's going to determine person by person by person the positive morphic field that gets amplified or not. So it's about your frequency, but it's also about your attention. So where's your attention led? What percentage of the waking time is your attention on worries or fears or what's going on that's bad? Is your attention on praying for the sake of a prayer, a supplication, one that's like crying out for, oh, please God, make this happen. Oh, please God, make it rain or whatever, right? Like that is not the energy and resonance of peace, and nor is it the quantum field of possibilities that we want to tap into if we want to manifest a certain weather pattern, right? So when there is a seemingly newsworthy risk of war, one thing you can do is get into stillness. And from stillness comes that peace, that joy, and that happiness. And you might ask, well, how does that help? Well, here's the thing. If there's more and more people resonating that frequency of joy, peace, love, there's less and less people being angry at each other, trigger happy, or whatever it is. It's almost like a positive infection. You know what I mean? Like you can infect someone with love in a way. So maybe infection is the wrong word, but you can positively affect someone. One of my teachers in the past used to say, you have a choice. You can either affect people with your greatness or infect them with your inferiority or, whatever. So let's all take a step back, get into stillness, resonate that peace from within. You know the saying, right? Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. And here's the thing is most people don't realize that they're spending much of their attention and their energy in the opposite direction, because that is what we are manipulated to do by the news, by whatever's going on. So let's just put it this way. If I was your doctor and I was giving you a prescription, I would say, no news for you. The only way that I would allow you as your spiritual light medicine doctor to watch the news would be, okay, if you are trying to move a storm and you need to know where it's going right now and you want it to move another direction, you kind of need to visually see where it is. Sure. Okay. But you have to keep watching the same hurricane like path over and over and over again. That is no longer valid. Like maybe 5 minutes ago, it was valid, but not valid now. Same thing with fires, same thing with whatever is going on in the world. Remember, it's already in the past. So in order for you to create a different future, you need to see it and you need to feel it. You need to embody it. And that is your spiritual responsibility. And it's like, I know you might think, oh, this is like Mission Impossible. But how does the movie, go? It's like, here is your mission. If you, what do they say? If you wish to take it, or you know the saying, right? You can write it in the comments below. So if you choose to do this mission with me, a mission of peace, a mission of joy, and get into stillness. If you can get into stillness 9 to 10% of the time, according to Source, of your waking time, wow, your whole world will transform, and those around you as well will be positively affected by you, even if you don't do anything to help them. So it's not like people are not hurting in the world. We're not saying that. But you being worried, and you being in fear, and you being angry is making things worse. So just like, there might be endless preparations for war in our current reality with our current country in the US. What if we waged peace? What if we put energy and attention into making sure that, everybody has food, everybody has shelter, everybody has basic needs met, everybody has health care, but that needs to come from a level of consciousness. So if you're watching this, then you are part of that positive project because you care, which is amazing. So please help me wage peace by being peaceful within. So another thing I want to share with you this week is we've been talking about the Ascension Cycle, the 4 parts of the Ascension Cycle that has been described by me, thanks to Source. So we just ended a fairly long, like over a week, I believe, phase of the Ascension Cycle that I call the rising phase, where we had challenges with grounding. And I talked about that in my last video, so check that out. There's a cool model where I showed you all the different ways you can ground. This week, we're into not the rising phase, but we're into the expansion phase of the Ascension Cycle. Okay, and then after that is the resistance phase, and we'll talk more about that when that comes. And then the next is the integration phase. So one of the challenges during the expansion phase of the Ascension Cycle is that our intuitive gifts expand. Now you're like, well, why is that a challenge? Well, when our intuitive gifts expand, sometimes they create excessive awareness of energies and things that we may not really need to know about in that moment. And it may affect us physically because we're sensing things that are uncomfortable, that are irrelevant. And that happens because of a sudden expansion of our awareness, sudden expansion of our intuitive gifts. And when that happens, what you can do to help yourself to be able to hone these gifts and harness these gifts for use when you want to use them is to balance these gifts. So if you do divine muscle testing, or you're part of my Topican level 1 training program where we teach you how to do divine muscle testing, there are some really cool things that you can test for yourself. But before we show you what we do to check to see how your intuitive gifts are balancing or not in this expansion phase of the Ascension Cycle, let me just review for you some of the intuitive gifts that you have, whether you know it or not. It may be not developed as greatly as some of the other gifts, but looking at this chart that I'll be showing you in just a moment, you will be able to figure out which one is your dominant. So let's talk about your sensing gifts, your intuitive gifts. So these are the ones that expand during the expansion phase of the Ascension Cycle. You become more sensitive. Now, some of you are already like, oh my gosh, I'm already so sensitive. What am I going to do? Well, it's a problem if you haven't got that under wraps, if you don't know how to control that sensitivity gift. And then when the Ascension Cycle hits, boom, it's worse for you. Okay, you start feeling other timelines, past lives, whatever went on, your next door neighbor, somebody over in China doing something. Like it can be pretty overwhelming. And we have a lot of sensitive children these days, and they label them and they medicate them. But wouldn't it be great if we just taught them how to learn their gifts? taught them how to hone their gifts and harness their gifts and train their gifts instead of suffering from them. So clairsentience is probably the number one clair, so to speak, or sensing gift that I see among highly sensitive people. They feel other people's stuff. They feel not just other people's stuff. They might feel what's going on in Mother Earth. If Mother Earth is sad, they might feel cosmic events. And do you remember Yoda in Star Wars? If you're watching this, you probably watch Star Wars. But anyway, so if you in Yoda and Star Wars, in several of the episodes, when a world dies, okay, is killed, destroyed by the Death Star, whatever, literally Yoda's like, ugh, right? He feels it. He feels the cries of death and the pain, and it hurts him, right? That's him being clairsentient, empathic. So your empathy increases during this phase. So clairsentience is the ability to sense information through your physical body. Clairvoyance is through your vision, whether it be inner vision in your mind's eye or your outer vision. Some people see ghosts in their outer vision, spirits, demons, things like that, or hooks in people, weapons, things like that. I don't see them that way in the outer, using the outer eyes. I see them in here when my clairvoyant gifts are mostly inner sight. So clairaudience is the ability to hear beyond the usual, person's ability to hear. So I have some funny stories about this. But one time, my husband and I were in bed, and this is at the time years ago when I first was doing a lot of learning around entity clearing and things like that. So, and I was actually pretty darn good at it. So what would happen is that sometimes spirits would come to my house to get healed before I put boundaries and auto healing and all that kind of stuff up. So one night I'm turned to the right, my husband's turned to the left, and we're in bed, and it's quiet and it's dark and it's super quiet here where we live. And I hear this sighing, like, like this. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're snoring. So I kind of go, honey, is that you? And he goes, no, I thought that was you. And I'm like, no, we both said straight up, right? We're like, what the heck is that? And so it was a ghost in this case, wanting some help to cross over. A few seconds later, that was done. We could go back to sleep. No big deal. But that is an example of clairaudience. Now, I'm not often clairaudient out here, like hearing that sigh was very clairaudient. My clairaudience is more words that come into my head when things happen, or I'm asking for intuitive information. There may be a word that comes up right in my head, and that's my form of clairaudience currently. So clairgustience is the ability to, let's see if I can get this moved down so you can see it. There we go. Clairgustience is the ability to sense information through taste. I can't tell you how many times I've been to potluck dinners or whatever, group things where I'll take one bite of something and want to spit it out. And everyone else is eating it and there's no problem, but I'd be like, that's rancid. Like that can't you, and I'd go to my husband, can't you taste that's rancid? And he's like, no. Other times it'll be him. He'll actually smell stuff, that's a little off and other people won't. So clairgustience is information through taste. Now what's really fascinating is sometimes you're not just tasting the food, you're actually tasting the energy that's with the food. Food often has water, of course. Water is part of it. Water is able to store energy like a battery. In fact, they're going to make computers with water chips instead of silicone chips in not too distant future. So you can sense sometimes the energy of that. And it may not be the coconut, for example, that you're allergic to. It could be the farm that grew the coconut that has a curse on it from 200 years ago. That's what happened to me. I was allergic to coconut for quite some time until I figured that out and released the curse. And then I'm no longer allergic to coconut. Love coconut. Okay, let's move on. So clairessence is the ability to sense through smell. So there have been several times where I've smelled something that actually is not in the room. So my husband and I had this beautiful period where we went into the house and we kept smelling roses, and it was like our angelic team, guide team. It was amazing. It didn't last. I wish it did, but boy, it was amazing. You know, other people couldn't smell it, but we both could smell the rose. And I have lots of great stories about clairessence and, you know, telling my husband he stinks when he didn't, and then smelling his armpit and it wasn't him. It was again a ghost, again years ago, before I had boundaries, you know, so I'd be eating dinner and all of a sudden, you know, there'd be somebody there. Can't see them. Sometimes he can see them. So those are really, really funny stories we have from the past. Now, clair-knowing, I wanted to put claircognizance because that's how I normally say clair-knowing, but it wouldn't fit on the page very well without you squinting to see what it is I'm writing. So clair-knowing is the same thing. So clair-knowing is the ability to just know, and it's an intuitive hit. And some people think that anxiety, like you're being fearful of something bad happening, is clair-knowing. And I'd hate to break it to you, but most of the time it's not. It's your ego and it's your anxiety. Clair-knowing is like Mona Lisa Schultz's mom in the middle of, you know, a dinner party somewhere, and she's like thousands of miles away from her daughter, Mona Lisa, right? She stands up and she goes, Mona Lisa's in trouble. And her husband's like, how do you know that? She goes, I just know, right? And what had happened is Mona Lisa just got hit by a truck. And all these broken bones in her body. She survived. She's doing well. She's written bestseller books. She's awesome. Okay, but that's like clair-knowing. But her mom didn't go, oh my God, there's something bad happening. You know, like, no, she just stood up and said, she's in trouble. You know, and sometimes they'll say moms have that mother's intuition. You know, they just know. But oftentimes it doesn't come with that emotional overlay. So these things can expand during this phase of the Ascension Cycle. And what you want to do if you muscle test is, when you're in the expansion phase of the Ascension Cycle, you want to check how balanced are my clairs overall, right? And get a percentage out of 100%. And then, if you don't need to know more, you can just do a Tobacan healing directive. And that's like, I now command that all my clairs, okay, and after you watch this, your spirit team and source will know what you mean by that. All my clairs, all my spiritual gifts, be completely balanced and healthy in the highest and best way, all directions of time with ease and grace. Thank you. Yep, that's it. Now, the one other way you can do it is check the least happy clair, or the least happy intuitive gift. So you can say, of all my sensory intuitive gifts, which one is the least happy or the least balanced right now? Is it clairsentience? Is it clairvoyance? Is it, and go through them until you get a yes. All right. And then you check, okay, so if that is it, how balanced is it right now? Say you get 79%, right? You do your directive, you do your healing. And if you've been Tobacan healing attuned, which you probably have been, even though you don't know, maybe this is new to you, but if you're in my tribe, you're already attuned. Then you just recheck. I now command that all my spiritual gifts be completely balanced and happy in the highest and best way. Thank you. And then recheck, and you ask, how balanced is the least balanced spiritual gift? And say you get 95%. Then you go, which one's that? It might be a different one, And then you can say, is it possible to get it even more balanced? And if you get a no, that often means you're probably just processing the healing that was just happening, or that something else needs to heal first. But anything 95 and over is pretty darn good. And here's the thing, the expansion phase of the Ascension Cycle can last many days. So that means you keep expanding, you may have to rebalance them again. Keep expanding, you may have to rebalance them again. Now, if you happen to have my Ascension 2 product, the MP3, MP4, you can actually just play that once a day and just ask it to balance my clairs. Okay, and then you're on your way. Right? You don't have to do all this other kind of stuff, unless source needs you to know and needs you to practice testing or whatever. But it's a quick way of doing it. So if you're sensing too much and you become more sensitive, okay, lately, this may be why. So you need to bring that back together, rebalance all of these. And one last thing, although this is beyond what we can teach you today, but you usually have a dominant clair. Like clairsentience is the dominant for most people, but maybe clairvoyance is for you. Hang on, I'm just going to plug in my laptop here. And in the past, if the dominant one wasn't balanced, then the rest of them couldn't balance as well. But I did create a positive new morphic field that is a balancing positive morphic field in my Ascension 2 product. It's also in Deep Healing 2 and 4 if you happen to have that, or one of the superpowers MP3s as well. But what it does is that it, despite your dominant one not being fully balanced, the others can balance even if the dominant one is not as balanced. So that was a recent change in the last few months, something like that. So I might have lost you there, but anyway, so definitely balance your clairs this week. I think it's pretty important. You may have to do it every day until we're done with this expansion phase. If you have children that are very sensitive, you may need to do it for them as well. If they're very sensitive or moody or whatever. And in fact, I think I have to do it for my dog because he's been a little needy since we started this cycle. So I'll have to do that. A couple of announcements I want to share with you. Number one, I'm super excited for Monday's radio show, Light Warrior Radio, because I have my friend and my very first coach, actually, Keith Leon S., on the show talking about his bestseller book, Walking with My Angels. And he has, it's a biography, but it's incredibly empowering, reading about his experiences with his angels and what kind of experiences you can have as well. So definitely join us on the show on Monday. It's going to be live at 12 noon Eastern, Light Warrior Radio. We'll put the link below the video if you're on YouTube. The other announcement I had is that just to let you know, we just have one more day of the Life Transformation Telesummit. And this has been super hugely successful. The videos have been amazing. We've got some great feedback from people. So if you have not checked it out, definitely check it out. You can just go to my Facebook page, KarenCan.com. Sorry, my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Karen Can. And I've been posting the daily videos there for you free. It's free for 24 hours. So we have tomorrow is going to be super special, which is Friday. I'm recording this on a Thursday. So hopefully if you have, caught it there, I believe we might have a replay this weekend. I'm really hoping we do. It's been really great. So I want to thank everyone who has signed up for that to be part of that, because that's really helped me. In fact, they had an affiliate contest and I came in second. Woohoo! So I got some pretty cool prizes. Don't get to go to Costa Rica. That was first prize, but I'm still good. I'm 1 second. I'm super happy. So I want to thank you if you were one of the ones that clicked on my link to register for the Life Transformation Telesummit. So if you enjoyed this, we're going to do this every week with you on the Spiritual Medicine Digest. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to me on YouTube and feel free to comment if this has been helpful for you. And if you're a Facebook person, come join our Light Warrior Network, which is a free private group that you can join with like-minded people. We're all highly sensitive souls there. And every month we do free mini healings and we help and support each other. We have activities every week, Prayer Tuesdays, for example, Thankful Thursdays, Funny Fridays, to keep the energy high and the vibe high. And if you need support and help in your sensitive soul, please come and join the Light Warrior Network. So lots of love. Until next time. Bye for now.